Spark, how you think? Number one, chronic social stress. You know, as human beings, we never experience long-term social, psychological stresses. The only chronic stress, mental stress we experienced in the wild as human beings was famine. It meant that we couldn't find any food, and that lasted for long periods of time, and that was stressful, okay? So what the body would do is it would release stress hormones like cortisol and catecholamines like epinephrine and norepinephrine, and it would change your physiology. Cortisol is the stress hormone that you and I release when we're worried about something, when we're stressed out. And that stress was serving us well if there was a tiger jumping out of the woods, because that cortisol, that stress hormone, would change your physiology, so your heart rate went up, your eyes would dilate, your muscles would flex, your breathing would change, okay? You would be stressed out. You would be ready for what? Fight or flight. Preferably in that situation, fleeing, okay? And that served you well when there was a tiger jumping out of the woods at you, okay? It would save your life. But it was never meant to be a sustained physiological state, worrying, stressed all the time. Say yes if you get that, okay? So what we're dealing with today as human beings is a totally unnatural phenomenon of chronic social stress. You throw in chronic dehydration, toxic deficient lifestyles, and exhaustion, because nobody's sleeping right, and we've got the perfect hormonal storm for just tragedy and chronic disease. So we've got to help mitigate some of these social stresses. We've got to create things, tools, that will help us sort of process things and reduce our chronic stress. So we're going to introduce the concept of journaling. And I'm going to challenge you guys to journal throughout this entire thing, which is why we're out the whole experience. You can journal over all three categories. You can keep track of your fuel, how you're eating, your air, how you move, and your spark, and all your thought life around that. I highly recommend it. And if you're asking what one thing I would say you should absolutely do, it would be get one of those journals so that you can write it down. This is a worthwhile endeavor, and your life is worth recording.